Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from Sort of Interesting, and today you're joining me on board good old Narrowboat Abel's Ark for a look at the Fireplace. I want to focus this entire video about what I've always said is the absolute beating heart of the two boats that I've lived on over the years, and really show you in depth getting the fire going, how it works with all the vents and things like that, and of course maintaining and cleaning it out. However, before we get stuck into that, I just want to take a moment to get out of shot for a second, switch the lights off and let you see one of the things that I absolutely love. You can see here just how much light from the flames flickering away in the fire. It's just beaming out and lighting up, and it just exudes warmth and coziness and heat with that crackling sound and stuff. I just absolutely love it. Anyway, let's get stuck in. Before we get into the maintenance and how it all works and that, let's just enjoy simply lighting the fire. So, got some of these compressed sawdust fire lighters here. These are the sort of modern type now that are replacing the old paraffin block type that you used to always get. Those pure white ones that were commonplace. And you can see how crisp and dry that fire lighter is, as it immediately bursts into flames there as soon as the lighter was put up to it. So I'm going to put that in there, and then just to hedge my bets, because obviously this is being filmed, I want to make sure that the fire does actually get stuck in. So again, just put that other fire lighter in, lit it off the one that's already in there, and now my friends, I am simply going to chuck in a few sticks. These are just broken up bits of wood. These aren't particularly romantic, collected from the wild or anything like that. Although most of the wood that I do burn that is actual tree and stick comes from my friend's garden, as he's just done some extraordinary wood cutting over the years, and has just got piles and piles of sticks and bits of wood and that has dried out over the last couple of years. So that's obviously very handy. And you can see here that we've got the fire pretty much done in those short moments. So again, that's about as simple as it gets. Obviously, as the fire starts to take hold and get a grip on all of this very dried out wood here that we've got, that's going to start crackling and spitting, which is when I would close the door, obviously. Well, at this point, I would normally close the door and use these vents on there and on the front of the door to control the airflow. But I think, just for argument's sake here, before I dive into the proper video, I am going to... Well, I was going to nice and simply just dive in and chuck a couple of bits of coal on with the tongs. Again, this isn't intended to suddenly be an amazing fire, but I like to add a few bits of coal on there as everything's still warming up and burning, because it obviously means you've got a couple of coals that are hopefully going to take and be there ready when you might want to put more sticks on and stuff. So if I maybe forgot to tend the fire in this early stage, hopefully the coals would be warm enough to help keep it going if I then chucked another bundle of sticks on and ignite those if there wasn't a good licking flame going on. But to be fair, that looks absolutely gorgeous there, my friends. Well, my friends, as you can see, within 5 minutes, the wood is completely consumed. You can hear a little bit more of the crackling nature of the fire here. And to be honest, I'd say that I could probably put a little bit of coal on top of even just that in there now, and be pretty confident that it would keep me warm throughout the rest of the night into the morning. Because it's not a freezing cold night out there, I don't need it to be too stacked and too wildly throwing out the heat to build up the temperature inherently to stave off the freezing temperatures of a midwinter's night. But yeah, I might actually just give that a whirl, and if I wake up at 2 AM and I'm absolutely frozen, I'll know that, well, I need to rethink my strategy going into the winter. If we have a look on top of the boat here, you can see we've obviously got our chimney smoking away. Now, the smoke disappears after the first minute or so, really. It's just, well, it's all getting going and starting to burn properly. So, I almost forgot to show you the magic, the witchcraft of the EcoFan, which somehow takes the heat from the fire and uses a couple of metal plates to turn it into electricity to drive this motor, which obviously then helps to blow hot air and cycle air around the boat, and again just try and disperse a bit more of the warmth of the fire. As you saw at the start of this video, the fire obviously gives off its glow and that smell, that scent of burning wood, and it just exudes that comfort and coziness and that old sort of primal feeling of, oh, gather round the fire to keep warm from the elements outside. And that's one of those things that I just can't explain how much I love and appreciate that sort of feeling, especially, as I say, if it's freezing cold in the winter nights. But now, my friends, let's take a look at the other side of the fire, which is keeping it all maintained and operational. So I thought we would empty it all out of ash, give it a clean up, a bit of a polish with some fire blacking to make it look nice and shiny. Obviously get all of this ash and everything out of the way, clean up the very, very sooted up window into the fire there, as you can see, and well, just look at some of the tools and techniques I use to try and keep this to a minimum of fuss and a minimum of ash floating about inside the boat. So I suppose if I show you on this side first of all, we've got a simple dustpan and brush. As you can imagine, when you've got ash like this all over the place that needs emptying out, there's always going to be spillages. So on the other side we have got an old bottle that is now filled with water, as you can see from my wonderful handwriting saying water across it, which I try and spray just a little bit to basically dampen at least the top layer of ash, so that it doesn't, or it tries to at least discourage everything all floating up, because obviously if you've ever dealt with ash you'll know that the slightest breeze can send it all flying up into the air everywhere, which is not particularly what you want on a confined area such as a boat like this. So I try and just give it a little bit of a damping over with a bit of water every now and then to discourage that. The tongs aren't much use to us here. We've got the poker, which we'll use to scrape away any of the excess dust in just a moment. And we've obviously got this little handle here, which is for, if I can do it with my left hand, while filming with my right, which is basically to give us access to get in and out of the fire ashtray. What am I trying to say there? Which basically gives us the ability to pull the ashtray in and out of the fire. There, that was a much better sentence. So we are going to view this as a series of time-lapse clips, because believe me, you don't want to see this happen in real time. It normally takes, I'd say, about 15 minutes to scrape all of the ash out of the fire and get the glass nice and spick and span. I don't often do the glass cleaning because, to be honest, when you next light the fire, it will start to soot up almost immediately. So it's an endless battle, and it's one you can't really ever win. You can just keep it clean until the next time the fire's lit, really, and you'll see just how much soot is caked on here. But really, in all honesty, and speaking properly and sensibly about the fireplace and maintenance and stuff, it is pretty simple and straightforward. Obviously, because I was scooping all the ash into some bin bags, you got to make sure that everything in the fire is nice and cold and cool, so it's not going to melt and burn through onto the floor, or goodness knows what else could happen. Obviously, some people have little boxes and stuff to put the ash in and stuff. Some people will chuck it at the side of the canal or into fields, but I mean, I personally prefer to just bag it all up and dispose of it at a sensible place, just so that it doesn't look unsightly if I'm moored up, as I say, for a week or two, and in the mid of winter you might be having a lot of ash coming out of that fire. So here we're just polishing up the fire. Again, this is a simple job. It's just I'm not sure what it was that you saw at the start of this little section of clips, the bottle of fire blackie and stuff that I've got. And again, it just makes it look a lot nicer. You obviously get a little bit of rust and a little bit dusty and discoloration on the fireplace. But as you can see, as we look away from the coal scuttle, it's nice and simple, and well, it's a job well done. And I suppose that, well, how beautiful and mirror-like does that glass look on the front there, actually. But I'm just going to cut this here. So, my friends, I just stopped that audio recording as I realised I didn't actually have any footage of using the vents and stuff and actually controlling the fire while it was burning. So here we are on the night that this video is actually being edited, and you can see how, after not much usage at all, this front glass panel is almost entirely sooted up. You can see we've got a a really huge lump of wood burning away nicely in there with a few coals. And basically, now if I close the door using this rather handy lock-in door handle so that the door doesn't fly open if a boat speeds by and rocks us around, always good, safety third as I always say. Now we've got two vents on this fire. The upper vent, which you literally just pull that out and you can open and close these top vent holes. There's 4 of them there, as you can see, and that just allows obviously more air or less air into the fire. The main vent that I always use is this twisty vent down here on the bottom, and again, if you've got it nice and open like this, that's going to allow more air to come in. It's going to burn the fire hotter and faster, but obviously use more fuel. Or if you want to dampen it, then obviously tighten it up, let less air flow in there, which will obviously make the fire burn a little bit slower, a little bit cooler, and last a little bit longer. So it depends on how the temperature is throughout the evening. I often will find myself loading up maybe a little bit more wood, letting the air flow through just to give you a kick of warmth if it's chilly, or desperately trying to smother it and let it just die down a little bit as I'm sweating like a pig. So, if we come down here so you can view beneath the handle, actually if I come this way, sorry it's so dark, this is very poorly planned final section of the video. We have got this little lever here, whatever you want to call it, and that literally comes out and twists a central circular panel in the fire. So if I, oh that's very hot to hold the phone this close to the fire, so as I pull this out you can see it shifts the fire around, so that allows you to manipulate the fire without actually having to open the door. So you can basically let, like if it's burning a little bit poorly or need to shift some ash or debris, then obviously if you give that a bit of a wiggle, that helps the fire to get a little bit more air flowing through it and some of the ash to fall down into the tray, and life's all good, I suppose. You can see the EcoFans going nicely here as well. And on that note, my friends, I think I'm going to chuck a few more sticks into the fire and call it a night and just say thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this has been interesting and maybe educational and maybe giving you a warm, cosy feeling inside. Until the next time, I'll direct you to the links in this video description and say please do subscribe, hit the notification bell, check out my short books available for the Kindle all about boat life if you would like to help me out. And please do check all my social media links to see me posting loads of boaty pictures on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and goodness knows where else, Twitter, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, have a wonderful day. As always, keep it interesting, keep it boat worthy, have a fantastic day, and of course, my friends, farewell.